There we go. Yeah, we got it.
There we go, my man.
I appreciate you, Coach. Thank you for coming.
Hey, it took a little bit of time, but we got in there.
Hey, that's all it's about.
Good seeing you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too. How you doing?
Good. Doing good.
Just relaxing down in Florida?
Good. Just relaxing, been just around, just different places and stuff, just like everybody else, just trying to make the best of it.
Yeah, it's definitely so crazy just with everything that's going on.
Unprecedented. And, you talk to people and it's got effects on every part of life, I think, right now. So,
yeah.
Unprecedented.
My godfather actually just passed away last week from it. So it's been crazy. It's been crazy for my family as well. Yeah.
Sorry.
That's all good. But Coach, I wanted to talk to you about leadership and get into leadership because right now I think it's very important for people to understand the importance of leadership and that you don't have to have a title to be a leader. So, how did you approach being a leader as a college coach, but also as a father and a husband?
Yeah, I was thinking about talking about leadership a little bit. That's a small word for a big job.
Right.
Because everybody has choices as they go through this. And I think some of the things that you have to think about is, number one is you got to have a goal. You got to have a vision out there to bring people with you to wherever you're doing, whether that's your family, whether that's a football team or a classroom or a business or whatever it is. I think that you've got to have some type of goal in mind and then structure in terms of, okay, how do you get to that? And along the way, you have to be the guy that always picks up the pieces. Because things aren't always going to go right. I think when you have a goal for everybody and you involve everybody, I think everybody gets energized and then everybody has a piece of that goal. And being a leader with your own, if you're a leader and you just have, here's what I want to do, and there's nobody to follow you, or there's just a bunch of other people just involved, but they're not involved in the goal, I think that leadership is going to be fragmented at some point in time.
You always did a great job of delegating responsibility. Like we had the Eagles, obviously you had your assistant coaches. Was that always a part of the plan to make sure that our members of our team, not only the captains, but the seniors also had the leadership responsibility? Because I remember you always delegating responsibilities to us even before games to make sure that we had control over the team as well.
Yeah, I thought it was very important to empower our players. I thought it was extremely critical that every one of our seniors or people in a leadership position, because later on when we didn't have as many seniors, we'd actually bring juniors into it, would have an opportunity to stand up and speak in front of the football team. And that's power, because it's not easy to do to talk in front of your peers if you remember when you had to get up there. Yeah. But that's a part of being thought of as a leader, and that's a part of the process. So we always wanted to empower our players and allow them to be part of the decision-making process, small, big, intermediate, whatever it is. I also always thought it was important just to get them together and me leave the room and let them talk and try and solve problems or figure out what their problems are. Because sometimes I think people don't take the time to do that, to sit and to talk about the plan. So we've done that every year and really got involved with that after the 2010 season, or going into the 2010 season is when we really started doing that at length. Position coaches obviously are critical because they have such a big part of the day-to-day operations and the overall scheme of things too. So, obviously you have meetings and things like that daily. And every day I think we tried to have some type of devotional where somebody, again, was in charge of that, whether it was a graduate assistant, full-time coach, or whatever, but gave them the opportunity to speak to the group. And, I thought it was meaningful. It gave them a voice.
Yeah, definitely. When I talk to people now, I always talk about the importance of setting goals. And every Monday, you came in there with goal cards for us for the next week. And you made sure that we were working on things towards winning on Saturday, but also academically. Can you talk about the importance of setting those goals in those meetings?
Yeah, every week I came in there with the goal cards, and I'm a realist. Sometimes I knew that people weren't filling them out, but I thought that, when you start something, like I would always try and say, you don't want to try and complete the circle and finish. And so we would do that. And I know that some people took that very personal and wrote them down. Other people probably stuck them in their pocket or whatever and didn't. I thought that one of the things I thought was key to our development as a program was that opportunity to sit down at the end of the season, really at the end of spring, and sit and talk to your position coach, sit and talk to Coach Manning, our strength coach, sit and talk to somebody in academics, and sit and talk with me for a half hour or so, and talk about your goals, your short-term goals, and then your dreams and long-term goals. And it's amazing when I look back how many of those individuals have met those goals long-term. And whether it's playing in the NFL or being in business or graduating from college or seeing so many of the different things. And that's just not their personal goals, but their family goals and, what they're trying to do in their maybe spiritual part of their life or their athletic part of their life or their educational part of their life. But I thought that for everyone to have an opportunity to come and sit and go full circle with the head coach was critical to our program's development.
Absolutely. I still have my gold cards from Michigan State. My mom has them, the little pamphlet that you gave us, the gold cards, but it was important. It wasn't about football. We had our academic goals on there and personal goals. And I think that's just important for a young man's development, or anybody who's young, who's developing. And the fact that we got a chance to meet, but you held us accountable. So how did you hold people, assistant coaches, and us accountable? What was your tactics with that?
Well, I just, first of all, going back to the gold cards, I'll never forget, in 2001 when I went to Ohio State as the defensive coordinator, and, I'd coached for Youngstown State back in the 80s. And I sat down with Coach Tressel and did the exact same thing that you did, as I did with all of our position coaches, go through the different things. And he pulled out my goal sheet from 1985 and said, "Here, let's see what you've done since that time." That had such a huge impact on me as a person that he would keep that, and he would sort of hold me accountable a little bit, or just keep that and look at that from time to time. That I tried to bring that with me to Michigan State, or to the University of Cincinnati as well when I became a head football coach. So I thought that was critical. But for me to hold our players accountable, it was just, make sure that they gave thought to their own situation. If they didn't have it completed, if they hadn't put a little bit of time into it, I said, well, I'm not meeting with you until you do that. And, at least sit down and think about it, or we'd start from scratch and go through it. If they still hadn't done it, and we'd sit there and go through it. Okay, what do you want to accomplish? Hey, young people, you know how it is.
Yeah.
You know how it is, guys. There's all different type of young people that we have that are going to be diligent about what they're doing, and other people are going to, go through the motions a little bit. But that's part of growth, and it's very interesting to watch people grow from a freshman, where maybe they don't understand, they don't see that light at the end of the tunnel, and then you're sitting there talking to a senior, and he's about done, and he's finishing his classes, and he's been through 4 years of, football's a tough sport. As you know, Benny, football is a tough sport, not only to play, but to prepare for it, to function in. It's so much involved in it, the relevance of timing and, physical strength and endurance and mindset. It's got everything in there that really life has. So not an easy game to play.
No, you always related it back to life, which always helped me understand. Like when you're navigating through things, when I was navigating through injuries, this is how life is going to be. How are you going to act when life hits you in the face? And you always brought life into football, which helped me understand certain things.
Yeah, it's sort of interesting, as you know, I've retired.
Right.
I was standing up there, and especially in the last probably 6-7 years, I would say, when football is done, I would talk about our goals, the first goal being just that relationship piece, the second goal being education, get your degree, find something you're passionate about, because at some point in time, football is going to end, and there's going to be a big hole sitting there. And I'm here to tell you, when football ends, there is a life-size hole there that you have to fill. And so I'm going to have to fill that some way, because, I miss football, and I miss my players, and I miss our coaches. And, I miss that part of the job, but very, very much.
So when it comes to relationship, I got just 2 more questions, Coach.
Sure.
When it comes to relations, or not relationships, but when it comes to leadership, how did you go about inspiring players or inspiring people? Because we had some success, and you always said the next season after being successful is always the hardest one because they're coming after you. And after we won it in 2010, 2011, we followed it up and we went 11-3. But then we went 7-6, and then we went back to 13-1, and then the Cotton Bowl was the next year. So, how did you inspire us and keep us going? Because we always had a motto coming into each season: move the rock, complete your circles.
Yeah, we always tried to think of something that was pertinent to our situation, wherever we were at in the big scheme of things. But I think what I've tried to do, Benny, and what I still try and do is you're going to be defined on what you always do next. They're going to forget about the past. As great as that 2011 season is, they look at 2013 or you look beyond. But I think people have a tendency to say, okay, this is what you've done. Now, what are you going to do next? And I thought it was always very critical, whether it was after the Michigan game or after a big win of some sort or after a big loss of some sort, that we catapult ourselves into the next challenge. And I thought our football team bought into that. And I thought that they looked at that and said, okay, now how can we build on what we just did, or how can we drive back to what we just did, get back to what we just did. And I sort of put that on them, but I can't say enough about our players as individuals, as people, as I've gone through my time. 13 years is a long time. You think about being a first grader and then graduating, being a preschooler and graduating from high school.
Yeah.
That's 13 years. That's a long time. But I was blessed to have great people surrounding me, coaches, administrators, and players. And when I look back at our players, I'm just amazed because, the Big Ten Network had some stuff on from 13 and 14 and 15 here the last week or so. And so I taped some of those things that I sat down and watched late at night, just an hour of this or that or a journey or whatever. And the things that I saw our players doing and the way they handled themselves and the interviews and the different things, those are the things that is impressed me the most is how you handle the difficult times in your life. I think that you're going to be always defined by that.
Yeah, all the goals that you set out when you walked into my living room, we accomplished. You said we wanted to go to the Rose Bowl, and then my senior year, we were able to accomplish that. It's incredible the way you transformed that program, but you transformed it in a family atmosphere, and we built relationships. And you were very adamant about that when you were recruiting me. It's about relationships, and when I talk to players, when I still talk to Darquez and Trey Waynes and Kirk Cousins, but not only those guys, but other guys like Todd Anderson, like the relationships are all still there, like we're still playing. It's incredible to see.
Yeah, I whenever I see a player, just like seeing you just right now, it just takes me back to our times together, and you can build on that and go forward with it. But I really believe that when you talk about leadership, you have to invest in your people. I know some of the people that are in these huge corporations can't touch everybody, but somebody in their corporation has to touch everybody down the line some way. And when I say touch them, I mean, you have to care about people's lives, because if you think that I will go through the wall for you, then that will be reciprocal for you or for me. And I think that was one of the biggest things that I figured out over the course of time, and working for all the people that I had an opportunity to work for. Nick Sabans of the world, Jim Tressels of the world, Earl Bruce, some of these people that are lifelong coaches, they had a way of caring about their people and investing in them. And because of that, I thought that a lot of people's goals were able to be accomplished.
So, I guess you kind of answered my last question. I was like, what's the best leadership advice you can give for somebody who thinks they're not a leader, or people who are leaders? Because leaders can always constantly evolve. I watched you evolve as a coach.
Yeah.
All 5 years I was there. It was something different every year. It was just incredible to see your growth. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing because, I look at a guy like Blake Treadwell.
Yeah.
And Blake didn't say a word probably for 3 years. And then his senior year, all of a sudden at his senior talk, the emotion that spilled out from that in that talk, and then the carryover from that put him in a position of leadership. I look at Darquez, didn't say a word now as a freshman or sophomore. All of a sudden he's standing up in front. And it's amazing to watch people transform themselves over the course of 4 or 5 years. And I think you just grow. I really do. But throughout the process, I mean, how do you get that? You know, George Perlis told me one time, you can never have a bad day when you're a leader. You have to be the guy that walks in there and tells everybody it's going to be okay. You know, you can't get down around people around yourself. You got to be the guy that always picks everybody up and recollects everything and then pushes them back forward. And, you know, I've said this many, many times that the first day that I ever came to Michigan State, I just remember saying, if we can all go like that, it's sort of ironic that that's what you do as Spartans. But if you can always go together like that, you know, great things are possible. But as soon as things start to become fragmented, you know, that's when the problems start to arise. So it's very important that you keep everybody together and moving through the crisis, moving through the situations. And hopefully, you know, we won a lot of football games there, but at the end of the day, it's these type of things, Benny, that I'm most proud of, or feel most emotional about, is the people. And because the people make up our lives, and it's the people that we've invested in as individuals.
Appreciate you, Coach, man. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for taking some time out. I appreciate you.
Hey, you know, this is my first interview since retirement, so I'm glad it was with you. And you know, just for all of our Spartan brothers out there, you just appreciate all that they've done and allowing me to be a part of their lives.
Yeah, I will make sure they get it out, and I'll let you know when I release it. Coach, I really appreciate this. Thanks.
Congratulations on your book. Doing great things with your career.
Appreciate it, Coach. I'll be in touch.
Yeah.
Bye.